Oh, doctor.
Yes, where did the mess from Kakran say? Meti baby Kakran. Mohammed said my background on here. I had to switch it off. May share my screen now, sir.
It's prayer time.
Pacho, muhum screen no.
Pray anytime. Pray when you're sad. Pray when you're glad. Pray when you're weak.
Okay.
Pray when you're strong. Just pray.
All right. Yo, me that one thing. Send the topic near coronary artery disease. Now, before measure say, minimum say. Yeah, health people know sometimes you're telling your money be a smooth baby, but I just want to say you better try your best na ma chire mu ama nyina yate ase na before no say me minim say questions be ba me try my possible best into me run it through a bit quick about 30 minutes be na ma wi na questions be ho mwatimi abisa na me sha ase no coronary artery disease I can cardiovascular class of cardiovascular diseases I mean cardiovascular yadia akuma the heart and vessels of the body and mostly vessels when I say arteries na our body no mu no eno na eswa and I say the oxygen running through the heart and I say pumping oxygenated blood into the heart. And mostly if there is a challenge with that vessel, mostly artery no person you to say a pipe, but this pipe is very, very, very tiny. Even though you imagine it looks bigger, but in actual sense it is not. Very, very tiny. But those are the ones I know so supply oxygenated blood to akuma no yenyina yenim say akuma no so the engine of the body say blood and then pump blood to the rest of the body, and so say if BB touch him with regards to the artery there is definitely going to be a challenge. Na nientia me choose topic we no a bunch of them you can cardiovascular diseases also hypertension and your friend says a heart attack and I say heart failures and it falls into that category. So you better take time now as and when I'm able na and the reason is there is lifestyle attached to all of these sicknesses. And mostly, I'm saying you try to tell me bebre, but you so say, one now on your so what free, and it just doesn't happen like that. There is always an underlying cause, but of course, they're gonna follow. They mostly we just take it on the surface, and so we just want to take a few minutes to talk about this disease and what can be done. And like as you know, me a pharmacist by profession. And so most of the things may go through what I will encourage you to do. And it's who near money be an answer or concerns be I will highly recommend the cell who cardiologist metre wakuma doctor sebeya obetimi ahwe se bibi wo ho a enko yi a watimi aboa wontem. And yes, ebedru baby no there is nothing I mean there is little they can do about when it gets to advanced stages. And into also say cancer coronary artery disease near basically and it's a sadrobe and as a pipe on kitten na akuma no ho and the oxygenated blood they kwa akuma no mu no. The bottom line of it is it's as and when Uni and I say a drutem be a BB lifestyle changes and I say never be a oh yeah or ya brabo muntin and ma quina edamuma mojani famuno ebedrutemina shrink and narrow to the stance so in some occasions it me block na block Madika can say, and none a day moja at the comma akumano, oxygenated blood at the comma akumano. And so say, and what you are basically doing to the heart, and they say, metal use example, business, and say, weight in akumano weight, moja na pumping be a 5 pounds. And as a hoarding, as I said, a little. But then the moment you narrow it, you are forcing the heart to do more than it can, so that a bit more force ama mojano atimia reche akomano. But what if say a secret so and in that case that it becomes worse? And so and then added complications be breba yenya that chest pains and heart attacks, and so that is basically the reason why many me person you discuss it topic we know. Does it just happen say actress no na ro keke and now say your lifestyle and I say bibi na nti and I say is it genetic? And so we are here to talk about it. So basically it's about the narrowing or the blockage of your coronary arteries supply blood to the heart. Now there were two types or how you were is stable ischemic heart disease and yes, I were acute coronary syndrome. You can't acute in medical terms. It means you're sudden. And yeah, idea like a cipria coupe na aba. And it can be sharp and it can also be deadly. And so we are looking at those things to see how best you be dealing with them. Now, before them person have mental picture about this disease, sometimes the fact is say onim dinu doesn't mean say anyhow. In fact, in the whole world, every year biane kunipa by 19 million. Now, in fact, me share statistics who US out of the 90 million over almost 18 million annually, nipa or multimedia film due to coronary related diseases. I bet my nipa film. Now, 2021, there was some of these things happening. In US again, there were some related statistics. I don't know, and now so you're there for Edina so my edibano and so many per every year over 375,000 per CDC report in 2021. 2022, so 371. Now, about 40% of cardiovascular diseases, diseases of the heart, any vessels of the body, about 40% deaths are related to this coronary disease. And so, who say, you're taking it lightly. The worst part of it is 1 in every 20 adults from 20 years and above, is living with one of these conditions. And so, say, our system or the situation is becoming more scarier. And yes, I say now what are the symptoms? And I say, Obeda who say yadie we be and I say niema we akoso wo menipa duane mu no den na say me ye fa won and I say me who say ye den number one angina, your friend chest pain. Who say onya that sharp heart wakuma yapa one of them. And a shortness of breath. Sometimes ye bibi kakre bia na ohomete. Just even walking little distance and as climb more stairs near you we are na breath to even breathe. So be home your heart attacks. I know more or less in Ghana right? And heart failure. Heart failure and heart attack, the difference of women is heart attack is sudden. Attack na about so preoccupied. Heart failure doesn't just happen. Muscles na pump blood to your heart, when if gradually a weakening a near holding, as I say, it immediately pump mojano to the rest of the body again. And so at that point, who say or system or heart failure anyway, mostly who say way I tighter because there are the heart and also the organ no and work properly. Again, one of the complications are about with it, your irregular heartbeats. So, so when you have this, some of this attack, we say, well, kuma, no, like, a bar, yeah, regular heartbeats, a co na ba, a corner, but we did it, maybe waiting born, we were not asa ati slow. In fact, it's when you are seeing some of these things, matters of the heart, you do not have to wait to for anything with his proper self consult or doctor or heart doctor na one running test in Shresebia bibi air touch ma woni padi anuma na watimi aya ma the other thing is dizziness and isukinios and isubremi difference no but dizziness and fatigue obi wo like I said and even just common stress onyafo or just say want me for straight kura bibi kitikiti bi na why exhausted no I am some of these things when they are happening now at least unimo before no how was your health and now no or adentina bibi kitu biana or why exhausted basa like I said and again no enko hu a doctor now mpese me say DNA deba the arteriosclerosis, what it means in this arteria no and as arteries na make a wasem no. Yeah, normal diameter of we no arteries na moja no famu no. Now corner nim no one say diagram we no I mean normal artery and I'm artery with plaque buildup. Ube say because say Niema esi kwan na edu the pretend like I said before no na kwan ni naro let's assume say me my example bia na SSL pump blood of let's say 1 gallon bia me fan sanka normal circumstance bia di bia 1 second nebeye now because kwan na narrow needing 1 gallon it will take longer time to pump the same amount of blood, and secondly you'll have to do more work to get it through. And so as it gets to that point, that is how Emma some of these things happens to us. Now DNMA blocks quinutimici. Yeah, Africa for minimum say fufu we fatty food trans fats I build it plaques, I build it, let's say, blocks on the walls, of the arteries. So as those cholesterol, I build it, waste products, and I build it on those arteries, eventually you will see say kwano anaro na enya narrow dru honoma. There is the need say doctor bit my hu bibi. So anya hu bibi then we are looking at that heart attack and the complications now fibrin the clotting factor moja moja to me clot and a friend fibrin it's also part of it. So if you don't have the right I don't know how to use it in say it in Chi, but like the clotting factor is also a contributory, and also eventually it gets to a point that they will burst on the pie. So I'm pie and person share image have from this angle here. Wakuma in a die, she who say arteries in the now sir, if that fatty build-ups bar na amaquina narrow, it gets to a point to quite me block completely. Entimojane bar, it can only go back entiminya home and answer nyakwa babia emfa. Now that is what we are talking about. This is how I'll bet me who ye. One say we near war yensan benkum so normal one the mood the move free intimojane bar. The heart doesn't have to do more work, but with the narrowing of the artery, or plugs, to me, a space in it into a ma and flow, send the SSA flow. Now, these are some of them again. How the whole system works. This part of it, the last one, actually yes say be a build no etimi duru tembi na assign a pie etimi block kwan no na block kwan ne sa na obehu say attack ne betimi aba because moja no ntimi nko akoma no ntimi nya moja ne yi a wo short oxygenated blood the heart will definitely respond. And to respond, and na Emma yetimi. I mean, you have to be rushed to the emergency so that they can attend to you. Now, how do we know say it will be an assay in NIBI? Basically, no diagnosis, we have different methods I use. So of course, on betimi actual blood, na or my test. In it, you were near my look at when use blood na. Yes, I to me the machine beto also electrocardiogram and as a echocardiogram. And no your machines are added to your boss, and you can see from here the second image in the ECG and as a EKG. And no and the machines pick signals and actually how near my air core within the body. Now another one is like the other one mostly or more in my initial presentation, may can say, obi a what that challenge in India and why bibi kakra no abre, even nantia kakra na says test no abre. And so one of the tests they would definitely do will be exercise stress test. So the purpose of it is or stress level to say how are you able to cope with stress. So no the doctor will put those pieces together before me a diagnose you and an angiograph and know your imaging with the heart just to almost share images of how a near my air course or heart in the moon within the body, So I'm about plug and also machines normally I share those images. Of course, and you better your CT scan. So the CT scan, these are all methods before they will declare and also make diagnose you say coronary artery disease, then normal you will go through most of these things. Now what you mean I proceed from there. Now, how no person you're sharing so DNA deba. You will be a friend modifiable factors and I want no modifiable factors. Modifiable factors mostly make my concern near my bit my who be. Enti se wadi anidie na wondidi yie udidi bibia basabasa strade na wo kwa kotwa aduane anaso ya aduane obenya ankasrade na monko age ani no. So if that is what it is, then we can do something about it. Of course, exercise yenim say on average, at least a day, nka yanye kura no enye ni 30 minutes. Say walking and also exercise be a ya boama ya burning enough fat near say lack of exercise to me the bar obia ono so smoke at me the bar hypertension diabetes and stress cramming cancer chimu yeah too stressor and also yeah a risk factor. I just brought it in here because say most of us Ghanaians and Africans, yeah, take Romano, yeah, Sanso Ghana, this way, and so you see council the and our how to mean your bills in and so yeah, just school fees or every yeah, the medical, in fact, including chop monies every also it pushes us to the level sometimes we are overwhelmed and yeah, stressed. Then those things so a bit me play a part in it. And of course, obesity, overweight, one major factor. And one him say cardiovascular diseases into most of it overweight who san who are ye a modifiable factor a bit me who be. So yet me who be then we are avoiding this and as a reduce the risk associated with coronary artery diseases. Now the other thing, non-modifiable. I don't know their own team. Gender, bar and I say be my genetics. Be a abusian will be papa, and you're diagnosed with this disease by the age of 55. Then you, the son, and also the daughter, you should know that the risk is within the family. And so there's a possibility, so one show near my year, one show who's year, you also can get it. Mama, so if Mama so was diagnosed with the same disease by the age of 65, I mean, that risk factor will still also be within the family. And so these are some of the things if I say so that aside, that the family issue aside, the other thing I contribute to back home and so the age, remember by the age of 45 and above, your risk level becomes higher. And so if your lifestyle doesn't change, aduanidie, lack of exercise, smoking, diabetes, all those things, coupled with age, puts you at a very difficult and also risky situation. So 55 plus, also risk also, especially omudru menopause time now, their risk level becomes higher. No hear me because most this yadena ye can no apart from the genetic factors and also near me near to me who be young even if the risk the non-modifiable ones no cry a play right, we will still be able to avoid it mostly in most cases. And so mama yan shannon so sir. Now Yanya, if I say or be a diagnosed with data, how is it treated? If we say some of them is about lifestyle, then it means it's say yes, your lifestyle, you bet me avoid it mostly. You bet me avoid it until lifestyle changes. Into say yeah, exercise. What it means is we have to factor exercise now going forward into our lifestyle. Yadiani no say kabobo, yedi carbohydrate no so much na vegetables so ne your friend said fruits when you free your equation no more. Now we are just focused on the fatty food and those things red meats in here. Then we are increasing our we are just looking at how we can help ourselves. Like I said, medication of course cannot be taken out. We have 3 classes mostly. They will put you on statins, cholesterol, just to reduce the cholesterol level. Mostly, cholesterol no baby I be do no bit me at the build up so and not stabilizing then you will be okay. The other thing will be beta blockers because akman bebo peri content them and say doctor they will to a dry bit man slow no down and mostly you will be on beta blockers and I clotting factor no say umoja no dano and also no they have to give you drug and different antiplatelets no say be ya and also betimi ama moja no mu aye lighter ebetimi but like I said this sense that is not our aim here. The aim for me is to base our lifestyle based on the lifestyle changes. If we are able to do that, we are then to so of course say what that then the medication will also play a role. So obetimi adhere to the schedule of the amount of say obetimi anom na atimi abo. In fact, sometimes yeah, movie why the year 2 neurosua, yeah, we decide as and when we want to take it. And I say, yeah, oh, no, my drone, you are seeing some reactions and I say side effects. Yeah, that is the reason why tell yeah, more draw, yeah, try to cancel, yeah, cancel, we are not some catcher or say, oh, no, responses be talk to your doctor and now say, obey me, consult to a pharmacist. Then you'll be given the right advice as to what to do. Don't on your own open now why you say may jai because so jaya you are going to be worse off. And so you have to seek proper advice. Adrobia yedima obi and mostly there's always an alternative. Biana e nanjewa bi bejo. Aha. And you have to just tell the doctor, then they'll be able to tell you what to do. The other thing is mostly in emergency cases, there will be some machine better arteries no mu. Now, in fact, stent, your friend is stent, and I made this diagram we are to hand at the balloon, the balloon, a beshim where the aqua, na or my balloon, na expand it, then it will a best shrink it, the cholesterol, no man, quack or tare, na ama quina saba the dacobium. In fact, Osha, when these cases come, now doctors say, you will see, sir. Nyankopon, I am manipulating to do this because when you look at the size of the thing, no, now and the speed of modern years animal way just to save the life, no, yeah, very amazing. Now, anti the American say management, no, it can either be lifestyle, of course, number one, and a medication. Na drew baby your procedure, but mostly no your procedure no crana, you will still be on medication so long as you have been diagnosed with one day. Lifestyle changes. Causes need be a smoking. And so if you are a smoker, of course, meaning say many are Christophone kasa. But what I also know is say yeah Christophone. Yes, you one for omunya Christophone nom cigarette. Intina I still have to introduce say it here. So nipa no you smoker. In fact, smoking and kasa cause you bebre. And you know if the person lives a cardiovascular diseases in the smoking is a part of the risk factors. Aside that, COPD, those things smoking and so quitting smoking is one sure way everything boy. The other thing my and so yeah. Any medical condition be an risk factor be when your doctors put you on medication, make sure you take them. Especially Africa for me, say hypertension, drone be me man of a country say me yeah, I feel me home to me so and I say they will tend to avoid it. What they forget is they forget to say the fact is how no drone doesn't mean say I mean you are worsening your situation and so if it is about that, there is a draw a bit media a bit me why okay, I'll bet me or and answer who can you don't just stop it without telling your doctor. And so treat the health problem. The doctors may treat to say diabetes, treat to say hypertension, anemia, any other condition being a trigger this situation, no, it has to be treated. Of course, your DNA, send Americano. We should reduce your fatty food, your red meat anyway. No, so the cholesterol levels will be down, and we can shift to legumes, fruits, so near less fatty. I bet me a boy. Yeah, those things are lifestyle is very key to all this. Regular exercise and obiso or no alcohol. I know your major risk factor. It should also be limited. Of course, mean to me because I don't know the idea what number of bottles are obeying me. And when you consult your doctor per your situation, you shouldn't take more than 2. But when you see your doctor will have to explain to you and tell you, sir, if you cannot do without it, how much that will be better and worsen the situation. And so maybe the diagram we have Bahama, and so say if we will look at our diet to be in this one, you give more fruits, vegetables, you do more proteins, everything and grains, of course. Na yatimi up improving him. Me what this charter, mpesa yesheni. I don't know how I what 3 classes here. Near answer say introduce sukra because why it doesn't support it at all. So it is stop. Something that has to do with sugar, sweetened sugar beverages, increasing your type 2 diabetes and also weight. Kind risk factors and modifiable one may can say overweight. In fact, BMI should not be more than 25. And to the moment you are going beyond the 25, and it means you are entering the danger zone. And I know most of us, we are in those ranges. And so the other thing, so I read and processed meats, send an Americano. Apart from cardiovascular, any blocks are the arteries in veins, and also increase the risk of cancer. And a coconut oil but margarine money way, no, we should always also take note of those things. Yeah, higher home baby or home, because the more I mean we just have to avoid them to kind of have a better life for ourselves. And or more almost num alcohol, no. Like I said, there should be moderation. There should be a limit to that. Now the yellow one, no, so you can take it somehow, but and yet the very best juice and have concentrates. No one say me say you call yeah grocery shops are your talk never be bra concentrates yeah they say juice near you, but in natural sense and organic nti concentrated ones nti yɛsɛ yɛnhwɛ yɛn ho so yɛ na yɛntimi ɛnte so sɛ ɛbɛyɛ a ɛbɛtumi reduce calories ne yɛ atumi aboa yɛ ɛna of course alcohol asɛm asan aba mu biom ɛna low carbohydrate ɛna high fat diets ɛno nso yɛnhwɛ ne yie sɛ ɛbɛyɛ a ɛbɛtumi aboa yɛ. Now the good one, I'm say you can't I will highly recommend say you bit me focus on before I made them na questions to be our hobby. Like I said, and I am giving us the basics because mostly it's about lifestyle. And watch situations, so more medication, and you just have to make sure say you always take them as scheduled. And now boy, leafy and I say green vegetables. I don't know. Yeah, of course, there are no the heavy fats near you but improve your cardiovascular risk level. Ebe man I lower no cry and legumes are beans family no so no. Yeah, sure, yeah, bet me. In fact, coffee moderate consumption studies actually say to me bois to protect cardiovascular system. Of course, minimum says for that we don't encourage it. Like I said, it's because it's for young one. We are also learning to also help others so that when some of these things have been waiting in CBR, you can also advise accordingly. Yeah, pen chini bebrebe no dear. Ebetimi of course, be can be crown say what situation based on your situation. You doctor bit must stop on chinidi. And that's so be culture say tisukra to the barest minimum. Menchini ankasano why especially those people are more hypertension because in chini and at the more so war system, I mean you increase your pressure. And low ye taking low sodium ama yet may reduce the risk of hypertension. And I can say hypertension is also a risk factor to coronary artery disease. And so these are things your perceptions so and a boy yataka we dash diet here diet against hypertension nti nnuane a yɛdi a ebetumi aboa yɛ ama yɛnya hypertension. Like I said, reducing your salt intake will help you. Also reducing trans fat and fatty foods, and and the more we do some of these things, the better it is for our health. And so to end, near mechanics say the class of cardiovascular diseases and say agro. Now in it, there are so many things even peripheral artery disease. I don't know the nine side say arteries to me be a blockage bit me ama na hunu say so and so we are asking ourselves to say show your lifestyle, show your brabo mu nnuane a yedi na exercise say na the right thing. In fact, say genetica, we will not be having this condition to talk about in our families. And if we have good health, because yadia can actually change so many things in our lives and in the family. And so, questions questions I bet me abisa na yeah sure say bet me I provided some answers but I must
Yeah, Dr. Edaus was patrol. So, if you any questions and answer contributions and patrol with media.
Yo, ima echo, say contribution kakra bi wo ho. Yo, doctor, di kan yeda wase papa. Any nyankopon nimdi a wodi ama wa. Wodi a cheche cardiovascular diseases enema especially prevention. Kakra mekane say yemema ya e wo so yi ana man kura muntu mu kunfo. Se omo hypertension yɛma ɔmo nnuro no a ɔmo nnom na ɔmo exercise na deɛ doctor kae no diet changes lifestyle changes no yɛtumi yɛ a ɛbɛboa yɛ papapapapa ɛm sɛ nyame nka wo ho doctor na nyam nimdeɛ mmɔ because ade sua deɛ bere biara na yɛsua ade foforɔ onipa gye sɛ wawu ɛna wonsua deɛ nti ma no asi obi nso ntoa so meda mo ase wae.
share that super.
Dr. Mpacho, me so masem libu. I'm so say see who can say coconut oil. O see ya na say
Coconut oil yen say encourage ye gino kesia once say fat at room temperature ebeda no yen mubia oil yen mo mubia at room temperature and it's not advisable for us. Yeah.
hey, obi so say confirm so say ya na ye ni coconut oil. Ah, semo.
Yeah, so oil say it depends on sometimes where you are coming from. I don't know. I know say most ladies at some mechanism Ghana, yet midi watching ya say kosia busy kosia until to date. Ubi samia me can't just yeah, but ubi super catch yourself because of cholesterol. But and so sometimes it depends on the research nipana yeah.
I say doctor.
Where sir we me quick sir we all come home we may pick it free Cleveland Clinic for way so from this coconut in a margarine near no yeah sir we should not be taking it we shouldn't be encouraging it. Yes, let me just leave it there.
Doctor,
That's about Erica about a
Bible.
modified factors and it can't about age meaningful from 45 from 55. No question there. So when now damn range in one, this year one range in the in one range between being this year one situation here
Remember a high risk. In fact, just looking at the age a risk, Michelle said, should tell you say remember of high risk than and so if you are both within you must still stand a chance of having higher risk than yes.
Doctor, yɛda ase bebree paa. Nanka mibebusa coconut no ho asɛm na me sister edika no. Na kyerɛ sɛ angu biara anaasɛ oil biara na ɛda wɔ room temperature biara no kyerɛ sɛ ɛnyɛ.
And advisable, sir, or the video because the whole thing, no, or share we anymore. The build up of plaques, is based on the fat, let's say waste products are ever your system, right? And cholesterol, Mr. Cholesterol, like oils, and that easily the build up is more. And in Chinama, they are encouraging us to be mindful of red meat because of course when you say no, it comes with those kind of fats. What am I gonna say? Yeah, we should not be too much for me I won't encourage, but of course say if you're seeing oil so we can get substitute. I know say canola comedy then
Canola seeds.
Maybe more money there, oil.
Doctor said, "Yeah, sir. Won't say a corn oil. So say you who and wow corn mo. And so yes, corn oil. Into no.
I know, sir, there was an issue I ever have seen something about with regard to that. So, what you are saying? I don't know. Maybe more power you bet me and that's a better dietitian, right? Said that is going to be a best this because OSHA presentation winning and mostly our risk factors, it has to do with lifestyle. No? And I know you move a bit or you knew and you know a and I did we so I done them. So your money na just in you na the aqua that horse. So with that, no, on say best on no, better than fat na build it all these things. And so your lifestyle, no, of course. And I'll recommend this mopa yempe dietitian. Now your treatment with regards to this cardiovascular diseases now on chire near ever boy near so that those of us who can afford, we will stick to those things ever boy. Yeah. May will be one more person bisa question into me man of kind. You're frozen.
Your friend Eric, before me auntie, yeah.
Hey, Eric Akwaba.
Yeah, my question is now all camp about intake of sodium. You know very well, say back home in Ghana when people like now I say in China and Trimu, then plug some in, right? How does that affect what they call the
so mechanics? So the physiology behind pathophysiology behind even hypertension and I make sodium chire adia efre nsuo enti say okọ hospital kra na mfa ne say ohun nsuo say American some sodium chloride, right? So they give you that enti say when you are taking it too much, it means that person retaining more water into your system, and the more you retain more water, you are introducing pressure.
But then again,
it
goes against dehydration.
And so dehydration, when you are dehydrated, then they will give you near maybe but if you are not dehydrated, you have your normal levels, so you don't have to overdo it. Especially our hypertension already in the system is already higher. What you are saying? And I'm even hypertensive patients, me almost heart failure, almost heart failure for building more fluid in the system, and so they will give you diuretic. Obama wajen so be release so be ama the bottom line is regardless ODB can one say no, it is not advisable. Yeah, it's not advisable.
You talk, no, this was them question. One medical professor, Akusa, will make a presentation be on oils. You know, all kind of seed oils, like from canola, other normally you are more dangerous than our other oils, like even palm oil, coconut oil. If you would coconut oil are all American, most of them and your oils are wider. But if you Ghana, coconut oil is no over here. Oil fluid even in normal temperatures. And so I don't know whether that's why I encourage
I think so. I'll agree with you. Enter medical who said near at room temperature, no, because I don't know how the processes the near kind of high friend coconut oil and say corn oil near. I don't think some of them are that natural. Processes no more the go through no more the abana more to the it's a flavor no more to corn and as a coconut. I can't tell. But of course, like I said, the fundamental thing will be say that that naturally at room temperature near here, then it is not something we should encourage. In fact, oil in Ankasa no crano, it is advisable, say, you bet me so say anything avoid, yeah, you bet me so cry. Yeah.
Yeah, and then on a short issue, oil coffee substitute a them potassium salt and for a them sodium and how a good is it for us? In a secondly, and I know that a oil coffee find a problem doing away with salt. But one suggestion there, in fact, it's a common suggestion. Say if you replace it, say a prepare with banana, it's vinegar guma. It gives you a similar effect of that salt because they said the vinegar will stimulate some the taste buds to the effect there. Oma in that salty feeling. So you can go out completely without salt by just putting a little vinegar on your the vinegar guma. Excellent. You don't need the salt in that. All those in that.
Okay. So I think like I was saying, you know, I'll highly encourage you, sir, we should get a nutritionist for some of this things. Yeah, a bit to me actually, because there are sometimes when you introduce some things so into the system, now I mean, me as a pharmacist, I am more concerned about drug interactions, and that kind of drug and food interactions. And so, because of that, some of these things should even be personalized. Like, for instance, say, be I made I draw ABC, so I should let my doctor know. Then they'll run that drug food interaction test, you know, to know, say, the way now that draw is so and I say to increase your risk, then you'll be able to know. Because some of the things, and mostly you can't public is in a just a doctor. It is because what might work for A might not work for B. And so when you narrow it down to your personal level, so when you have a general knowledge, you know, then you pick up some signals, some symptoms where they by the say, I will have to see my doctor. Now, then Robert run a test or who we are, then he will tell you what to do a bit me aboa. That would be what I would definitely suggest. Boy.
Actually, no, bibi ketewa bi am pese me kan about dietitian and nutritionist a wokan ye no. Iti papa yenhwe na omo organize ni nya bi na my personal experience ne so. I'm 37, my year adwuma 30 years. Na I'm BP kakra cholesterol cholesterol ne refer me to dietitian. Me call advice or the mom and say I shouldn't skip breakfast. Mimbo modia some skip breakfast. Na me yes ade no so no kwan bi so no aboa me bebre enti manuasi enti dietitian no de momo modia na nutritionist na mompe bi na sa cardiovascular no ma ya wa bekire omo encheche mu bi manuasi me da ase.
Amen.
Okay.
No, Manti wants about the potassium salt.
Potassium. No, in fact, I think, sir, I think, sir, my first time crowd meeting, but you see, what I will say is, anything that will bring water around the system, no, it increases cardiovascular risk. What you say? And I don't know, say the reason behind the amount for the replacing sodium hydroxide, because they are both salts, all right. And I don't know. I know say most of the time sodium chloride and use you know. I am not too sure about that, but let me check and I'm more feedback.
Supermarket there are a lot of potassium salts on the shelves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Doctor Mpacho, not just say ensure bebree wo your body ni mo no enye good man.
And yes, and so yeah, and so yeah, but nipa no nyanya hypertension we are. The system no is a bit different. Or no be no nsuo no alright, but wo no ma otimi jinso no, you are okay, right? But you will be no more almost system no build ya na almost way ni tie almost nine like you see they are swelling, right? Meaning say yin so say na say so yi free body no. So that is it. And so there because in so no there cleanses the more origin so no cleaning kidney. And so there good. The only disadvantage mostly so I wo ho say bia wo kwa akoda na wanu mu bebre na e be punish wa na jo. So sorry bebre akwa jinso. Other than that and so there a very good thing. You can get yourself dehydrated. But I say nipa no condition no say obi nya heart attack, I mean your heart failure. The system no pompe ne heart ntimi pompe ne blood ni and sometimes on the want me yin so sort I say like me I don't know you want me yin out through sweat or say origin so anasa. So that is the angle we are looking at it from. Say nipan what that those cardiovascular diseases now what that hypertension drew so then he has to do what he just have to avoid by increasing insulin in his system, no, and when the system should work normal. So anything ama oko doctor hono na so ata ni ayina most of no so momo sa Alexis ni bi sebe ya umbeti mama wa jinson so no bi a free system no mo.
Yeah, that's bebree.
So there who you pay, so there. Number one, this also depending juice anyway, and the fan so.
Yes.
Okay. Patrol, any other questions and as a contribution the program no ABC say Dr. Heda Sepa and in church with the about coronary artery disease say
and pray.
time addition. Yeah, balance so by questions and contributions by so that Yonkodoradio say every Sunday we are mobile recording program in my recording here radio send the Queen's Women Ministry WhatsApp page so until one more line soon so want me and TV now with me at least recording it. So want me so and get a hold of the recording now with me Yonkodoradio for YouTube channel. All the recordings nina ewo honum they live stream it also on YouTube. Nti ya yentimi ambiti be nina ni retimi atromo Yonkodoradio for YouTube channel na enne edition yenyaye no muso matimi akwa TV. Eda inyina ya se. The patron son you be free hay say
For it would in a chance, yes, so. Yes, me say Yadia Empire Honda. Nessa soon did my name dear, and near Honda, a bit me the eye near my say, yes, beya, a bit me at Yadia, so we are sitting no more. Twas so natural, my kind, I want to manage Amen.